CuyEast Chamber of Commerce. I'm Wayne Lawrence. Have you ever thought about owning your own business? Well, we're going to find out if it's a blessing or a curse if you do. Today I have Nithanial Decker. How are you, Nithanial?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
So you own Omni-Active Fitness, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so that implies to me that there's some sort of personal training involved, but I'm pretty sure it's much deeper than that. So tell us what you do.
Yeah. So, for the longest time, we've been primarily like an on-site in-home training company. Mm-hmm. So we come to our clients. We try to make things a little more convenient to eliminate that excuse, because time is usually the thing that gets in people's way whenever we talk about getting in shape, right? I don't have time for it. Work is busy, that kind of stuff. So we come to our clients. We also do some other things like, recently we've gotten more into the wellness space. We were doing that a little bit before as well. We didn't have like a scalable approach to that. We've always been a very one-on-one, like I like that concept a little bit better.
Yeah.
So I don't like the one-to-many approach, like group classes and things like that. Mm-hmm. So primarily we focus one-on-one with individuals. Doesn't matter what their goals are. They could be a mother of 6, could be an athlete, could be an executive that's just looking to keep things on track for themselves. So we work with everybody and just help them get to their goals efficiently and effectively.
So do you have employees, or are these just trainers are they contract employees? What do you use?
It's a great question
for that model.
Yeah. So we do all 1099 for our trainers, because that's just the best method that we've come across. We talked to many accountants when we started things.
Sure.
How we can make things like easier.
Believe
for
me,
them.
I know about contractors as well too.
Right.
Yeah.
So we do 1099 our trainers.
Yeah.
Now there are certain requirements that we have them hold, obviously, to get a job with us or for us to use their services. But and then we do have some people that are more employee type people, like payroll and things like that. So.
Okay. So how did you actually get started in it? Were you just lifting weights one day and say, I might as well get paid for this? How did you get started?
That's funny. Yeah. So initially, when we started with the in-home approach, it sounded like all of our marketing sounded a lot like, hey, we want this to be convenient and we'll come to you. And, it sounded great. It probably sounded to a lot of people like we couldn't afford our own space. And that's exactly what it was
right.
at that point. Since the pandemic, things have shifted in our favor a little bit. And now we're able to say, hey, we've been doing this for 10 plus years.
Okay.
And, everybody likes the in-home approach now. But back then, we really started with that model because we didn't have the money to put into a gym and to open our own spot like that. So,
and what year did you start then? You said back then.
Yeah, that's 2012.
2012. Okay.
Yeah, and 2011 is when I was kind of like dipping my foot into that. I was training. I had a job. I was training on the side. Eventually, I built that income to match what I was making at my job, and I realized I kind of like this a little bit better.
Right. Okay.
And I think it's about time to leave the job. So that's when I kind of jumped in, and we really we filed for the LLC and that kind of stuff.
Gotcha.
So.
Okay. So I'm going to ask the question so we get right into it. We're going to get started, and then we'll kind of touch base on a couple other things that you had mentioned already. You own your own business, and you're a young person owning your own business. Been involved for almost, 10 or 12 years. How do you like it? Has it been a blessing or a curse for you?
To me, there's only one way to answer this question. It's a blessing at every turn.
Okay.
There are definitely pain points in any business. I feel like if you look at things through the perspective of, I'm either here to succeed or I'm here to learn, and you frame it that way to yourself, then there's never really a point where you feel like a business is a curse. You really get a chance to feel like if I hit a roadblock here and it's not going the way I wanted it to go, then perfect. I can take this time to learn what I did wrong or what I can do better next time, and then you just move forward. The good thing about owning a business is you only lose if you quit. So if you keep plugging away at it, then it's something that you can definitely succeed at over time.
Yeah, that's a great statement. There are going to be people who really who are watching and listening to this that should really understand that statement. You only lose if you quit, because you're right. I mean, there are people who may have businesses that aren't successful or they're not meeting their expectations. And giving up, I mean, true entrepreneurs, we just can't give up, right? We just go and do it. How do you instill that same sense of ethics and sense of, work harder and smarter and not giving up into the trainers and contractors you work with?
That's a great question. I feel like, first of all, you're never going to have people that work for you or with you that care about your business as much as you do. So the first thing is acknowledge that. It's never going to be the same as multiplying yourself. That would be great if we could, but you can't. So what I've chosen to do after reading many books and kind of trying to frame how I want to approach this with my staff is I go to them, I figure out what they're looking to do with their career. So not necessarily how they can best serve me, but how can I best serve them? So what are they trying to do? If I can get them closer to their goals, then just as a byproduct of that, they're going to see more success and our company is going to see more success because of that. Because I'm going to get the best of them if they feel like I'm trying to get the best for them on my side.
Okay. So since 2012, I'm assuming it hasn't all been glory years. We did have this thing called pandemic, and it wreaked a lot of havoc on a lot of companies. How did you guys survive? What did you do? Did it help your business? Did it hurt your business? How did you manage through the pandemic?
Yeah, so I mean, this is kind of like a twofold answer. Initially, we stumbled like every business, right?
Yeah.
Especially in the fitness space. A lot of gyms were just straight up closed down. So at least we didn't have to close our doors and not know what's going to happen from there. Now, like a lot of other places, we turned to like FaceTime and Zoom and things like that.
Okay, yeah.
We had a core of probably, I would say 40 to 50 clients that really stuck with us and said, hey, however this needs to look, we're here to support you guys. We want to see you make it through this.
So did that include, Nithanial, coming into the home? Because people are so terrified about people coming to home, or?
Yeah, initially I would say no. I would say it was mostly just Zoom and FaceTime.
Gotcha, okay. Yep.
Because initially it was like, nobody wanted to be near you.
Right, yeah,
or you had like your little pod and that was it, right? And because we have so much contact with so many people, that wouldn't have made sense initially.
Yeah.
So we did mostly Zoom and FaceTime. And those people that stuck with us, I'm forever grateful for those people. Those have been clients that have been with us for 5-10 years. So those are our people.
Right.
They really took care of us, which we're very grateful for. Now, once things started to loosen up a little bit, as far as people were allowed to be around certain numbers of people, and we were able to go back into homes, that's when things started to pick up a little bit more for us. Just because now people still didn't really know how they felt about going into a gym. But having somebody come to them just felt safer because they're still in their environment, things of that nature. So things started to pick up in that regard. And then whenever people found out, hey, you guys have been around for 10 years doing this, like it's a little easier to trust us than it is to go to, the gyms that are rolling out things like, hey, we'll come to you now.
Right, yeah.
We were already kind of set in that mode, which is really nice for us. And then from there, we had to make some decisions of how we wanted to move forward because I was really stressed about, like any business owner, I'm sure, stressed about if this happens again, are we set up to withstand another storm like this? And the answer at that time was no. So we had to make some changes to make sure that, if this does happen again, now we have stuff set up to where we can actually move forward and continue to grow as a company.
So did you see any changes when it came to, equipment, technology, or anything to just really enhance the services at a home?
Yeah, for sure. So first of all, everybody's more cognizant now that like they can have things at their house to work out with. So that has been very nice. It's less for us to lug around. So that's nice. So a lot of people have stuff at their homes now. And then we actually pivoted and made a really large investment into technology. Probably right around, it was about 2 years ago now, from start to finish. We just wrapped up the project a few months ago. So we built an app, a mobile app, that allows us now to run our entire business on the back end of that and then push workouts to people to do on their own. So they have workouts that they can follow that the trainer builds for them. We built a FaceTime feature into that. So if people want to do virtual calls, we can do that in our app now. And then whenever we come to in-person sessions now as well, it gives the client a QR code that we scan that takes a session out of their account. So all of our payroll is covered within this program. And everything in the back end of my business is super easy now. So it's made my life much simpler.
So that sounds like a huge undertaking, a huge investment to begin with, which a lot of businesses, especially new businesses, are afraid to do. How did you come to the decision to even do that? Did your customers pull you that way, or did you just have an advisory group, or you just said, boy, we're not going to be in business if we don't do something to interact with the customer and not necessarily be in front of them at the time?
Yes, to all of those.
All right. I'm starting to get it now, huh? I'm getting it.
It's, initially when we started the company and any service-based business is much easier to start than a lot of other companies just because there's low overhead. And for us, it was basically nothing to get started. We were selling ourselves and our time. This is the first real investment that I've made into business. Now, we've done wellness in the past, more, like I said, in a one-to-one kind of approach. It's not scalable. We did it with American Greetings and some of the big companies around town. We worked with Omnova Solutions, which is now Synthomer off of Harvard. We've worked with Philips Healthcare and Honeywell and a lot of really big companies. So when we were doing the one-to-one, again, it's not scalable. So I'm thinking about, all right, if we want to get back into that space, especially because now fitness is a little bit more front of mind, I would say, since COVID, and people caring about their health a little bit more. how can we make that scalable, but still deliver a product that allows us that one-on-one touch point and not like a one-to-many kind of application. So that was important for me. Also, from a trainer standpoint, this is really what drove the decision at the end of the day. When I sat at home during COVID and thought to myself, if I were a trainer working for me, how long would I stick this out? And I didn't like the answer that I had for myself. So I had to start thinking about, all right, how can I get creative with how I can pay my people more than anybody else can pay them to keep them around and keep them happy? So corporate wellness is going to help us with that. We have some fundraising programs that we're going to be running with schools for their strength programming that we'll get some help with that as well that they can work on. And I'm trying to fill their typically what would be downtime with activities that create revenue so that I can continue to pay them more and more. So that's really the driving force behind it. Did I know it was going to work? No. To be honest with you.
Yeah.
But I think in business, we take a lot of chances like that. You know,
I agree.
And I did mention to you that the only way that you fail is if you quit.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to make sure we keep pushing until it works.
Well, I think it's in our DNA as entrepreneurs to just take chances. I mean, if you don't take chances, and sometimes by failing, you learn more than just total success. I mean, you could certainly, as you continue to go forward, failure becomes an asset for you versus not. But it was really insightful to think about like the employees and the trainers and how they may or may not stick with you based on compensation and customers. Do you have any partners in the business or anything, or is it you?
Yeah, that's a great question. So when I started the company in 2012, I did have a partner.
Okay.
Like I had mentioned, I was training a little bit on the side, figuring out what I wanted to do with this, brought a partner on in the beginning. We worked together up until probably about a year before COVID, which was its own set of interesting struggles. He moved on only because his wife worked for Nestle here in town in Solon. She got transferred to Washington, D.C., so they were just getting moved away, and it was a big job. So he decided to move. We could have tried to do some things there, but we were still figuring out a lot of things as a company. We didn't have the app and all these easy back-end processes. We were still a lot of paperwork and stuff. So I don't know that it would have worked how we would have envisioned it working. So we just decided that he was going to, I bought him out. And then right as soon as we decided on what all that was going to look like, COVID hit. So I kept my word and made sure that I paid him what he was due to be paid, even though our revenue took quite a hit during that time.
Right.
So,
yeah.
But yeah, that was an interesting time as well.
Yeah.
It's not one that I want to repeat.
Oh, believe me. And I know what that's like too, when you buy out a partner over the course of time too.
Yeah. Now I will say it was a graceful experience in the sense that we are really good friends. We were best friends.
That's good.
That's why and I know they say sometimes you shouldn't do that, right? But we were very good friends, and I like to think we put our friendship first in that deal and just thought like, all right, we still want to be friends after this, and we still talk, not like we used to. Obviously.
Sure, absolutely.
But it's not like we like hate each other or anything.
Yeah.
Which I think sometimes whenever business partnerships end, it tends to go that way. So I'm grateful for the way that all went down. Now, I think we both did things that we probably regret and would do things a little bit differently now, but I think that's part of the game.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm happy with how all of that kind of handled itself.
So where do you see yourself in 3 to 5 years? And are you thinking about that, or you're just thinking about what you're going to be doing next month and over the holidays at this point?
Yes, again.
Okay.
Very much so. I'm thinking about the now, just because we just wrapped up this project a few months back. So we're taking meetings now with corporations. We're taking meetings with schools. We're working on some of the partnerships that we currently have, kind of getting the app more involved in that situation now, because it's not something that we offered before, and we have to think about how we're going to be introducing that to their client bases, things like that. Okay. So, I'm thinking about the now in that regard. And then 3 to 5 years, it's continued growth. I'm hoping that we can get back to where we were before COVID as soon as possible, and then continue to grow from there so that I can, get my team where they need to be and start to grow that back to where it used to be as well.
You talked about some of your partnerships with, high-end apartments and fitness clubs and those type of things. It's my understanding you actually have a really neat program with the CuyEast Chamber of Commerce right now. Tell us a little bit about that one.
Yeah. So the way we used to handle corporate wellness, to take a step back, is, we'd go into a place, we would do lunch and learns and meet and greets and different things like that to kind of get engagement going. We do group classes, things of that nature. The problem with that now is, as you know, a lot of places that were big office buildings are now either hybrid or don't exist.
They're
there
vacant.
At all.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
A lot of vacant buildings these days.
Yeah.
So, our approach now with the app allows us to take, again, that one-on-one approach that's so important to us and convenient for the client. And we can really apply that wellness benefit to them anywhere. They can do that at home. They could do it at the gym. They
Okay.
could do it at work, whatever works best for them. I think that that's a much more valuable concept than doing the one-to-many like we were doing before.
Okay.
And, you know, there's a lot of reasons why a workplace would want this in place because, you know, there's absenteeism, all of those kind of things. So we want to make sure that this benefit really props up businesses to say, hey, you know, when we're going over our benefits for our employees, this is something that we offer. Like, oh, do you have any wellness benefit? Yeah, actually we do. If you work with us, you get access to a personal trainer, and it's all done virtually through this app. And if they want to upgrade to virtual plans or in-person plans, they can do that as well. So,
Okay.
And we're actually offering deeper discounts through the Chamber of Commerce here than we're giving anywhere else. So that's something that we're really looking forward to engaging with members on and really helping them.
So if you're a member of the CuyEast Chamber of Commerce, you get special pricing that's the lowest in the market.
Exactly.
Oh, that's fantastic.
And,
Yeah.
and we're really trying to, you know, I want to build them up and prop them up to really offer as much as they can to their employees. And it's more attractive whenever you're hiring and things of that nature. I think it's really going to help take them over the top.
So what other than adrenaline from working out, what keeps you up at night?
Whew. You know, if I had to answer that truthfully, I would tell you that I sleep pretty well, only because I thrive in chaos. Like I like the busyness of business. I would say if there's one thing that kept me up right now, though, I just had a son 7 months ago.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much. Things change when you have kids. And I've heard that. And I've always been the guy that's like, yeah, all right, whatever. You know, I'm still 20 years old at heart. So I'm like, yeah, whatever. Things change. I got it. So, but now when I do make decisions to invest in my business and to do this and to do that, it's not just my life and my time that I'm putting up to chance now. You know, I got to think about him and the time I get with my wife and the time I get with my kid. And if this does fail and I have to put more time into the business, how much time does it take away from them? So if there's anything that keeps me up at night right now, that's really the only thing.
Okay. Yeah, and a growing family really changed the dynamics of business ownership in general. Because you said, you know, if you failed before, it's just you and maybe your spouse at the time. But now when you have a kid, but it also, I think, makes you a better business owner because you are really strategic about the decisions you make and not necessarily just kind of just throw things out there, but you really get out there and think through it and take very calculated risks. So plus you got the kid who's maybe going to run the company someday. So you got to keep it around for some period of time.
Yeah, I've given that some thought. Yeah, I used to have a partner for checks and balances, and now I have a kid.
Exactly.
I got to run everything through like, all right, worst case scenario, what does this look like? So and one day, hopefully I will hand it down to him and he'll be into this. But if he's not, that's okay too. I don't want to be the person that pushes too much on him. So,
you know, when you were really thinking about what you were doing, did you have folks to go to and talk to, a network of support? Who were they and what type of advice did they give you?
Yeah. I won't name drop just in case they're not comfortable with that.
Okay.
but I do have, we work with a lot of clients here in Cleveland, and a lot of them are C-level executives and business owners and things like that. So I am lucky enough to, I've been training now for a long time, since I was 19. So I don't want to think about how many exact years it is, but it's been a while. So I've refined my personal client list quite a bit. And I laugh and tell people now that I only work with people that I would hang out with because I don't like that to be a stressful part of my day. In fact, a lot of the sessions that I do are actually like more laid back for me because I don't have to, I get to escape the business and the decisions and kind of work in the business instead of on the business all the time, which is nice sometimes. But I also get to talk to a lot of those people about what's going on in their businesses and decisions they're making. And I learn, even without asking them direct questions sometimes, I learn a lot just from talking with my clients about things that they deal with. So sometimes I do ask them direct questions, but but sometimes, I just learn through osmosis and being around those people. And it's been a huge benefit. I mean, there are too many people to list, even if I wanted to list names, but from the beginning and really getting started, like I've had a lot of people support me and build me up. So I'm very thankful for those people.
And Nithanial, I can tell you, any true entrepreneur wants to help others learn from their successes and mistakes. So feel free to ask them those questions as well, too, because that's the way to go about it, man. It really is. Just talking with others, finding out, what were some of the struggles, what were some of the blessings and curses throughout the process really helps you understand where you may go in the future. Now, people might not agree with, the strategy you're going to have in the future, but at the same token, at least you've asked all the questions and analyzed everything before you did it.
Right.
So when it comes to even cash flow. Was that an issue from the start, and has that been better now as you got in business and now you got a family coming through?
Yeah, that's a good question. So initially, like I said, from the beginning, we've had people that have built this up. So my first client outside of a gym, whenever I left to do my own thing, actually paid for the year of training up front.
Okay.
So that helps a little bit with cash flow.
All right.
They gave me a little bit of a runway, right?
Yeah.
So I had a few months to really start getting myself out there and getting some other clients out of it and build up some revenue. And then since then, I mean, I have the, I would say, unique ability to insert myself in the business, and I can make things as if I'm paying a trade. Like I can take on sessions if I need to make money.
That's a good point.
Most of the time, I try to leave a lot of that cash in the business though for some other decisions. So, and when I do ask questions, it's typically to my clients, it's typically like, hey, what do you think about this marketing approach? I'm thinking about rolling this out. If you were to do something like that in your business, what would you be looking out for? And those are the kind of things that I get from my clients. So cash flow, we have people that pay upfront for sessions if we need them to in certain situations. It really helps us out. But that's, again, that core 40 or 50 people that we have that are clients of ours. They've been a huge help. And really since COVID, we had people step up and say like, hey, do I need to pay? I had a client that paid upfront for 2 years. During COVID. Like, I'm like, you don't even know for certain if we're going to be around. Like, now we're a pretty stable business, but still, it was a lot of money to
and it demonstrated that trust they have in you and, to perform and do this too. So I think that's absolutely fantastic. So most people, if you ask them, well, a lot of people, not most, a lot of people, if you ask them what do they do when they're not working, they'll say, well, I go work out. What do you do when you're not working?
That's a good question. Well, that's definitely one of them.
Okay.
Typically it's working out.
Right.
It's funny though, the way people build that into their day as being like an extra activity. For me, it's been part of the day since I've been 14. So it's not like, it's not anything that's earth shattering for me. What I like to do for fun, I mean, I don't mind golfing. I should mind golfing because I'm not that great at it, but it's still a good time. I love fishing. I grew up in the country, so I like to fish and hunt and those kind of things.
Good,
so
I
love fishing. And right now, I mean, just spending time with my boy.
Okay, good.
It's a new thing for me still.
Yeah.
And I try to, they develop a lot at an early age. So now he's sitting up on his own and learning how to crawl and all that kind of stuff. So a lot of my free time goes there, and I'm looking forward to him being about 5 years old and I can start playing baseball and stuff with him.
Well, there's going to be a lot of new things with kids coming up, which is great. I'm telling you, you're going to enjoy it and stay involved like that too. I coach my kid through baseball and football, basketball and stuff. So it's just, it kind of takes your mind off the business a little bit, which is really good. I wouldn't advise trying to get too much into golf unless you want to increase your stress level, but it is a fun sport.
I grew up playing baseball and the swing does not translate, first of all.
Right. No,
the hand-eye coordination, sure, to an extent.
Yeah.
The swing does not translate. When I first started, I was shooting like 9 holes in the 60s. Now I'm like low to mid 40s. So I'm better now, but I was not. So golf is fun. It's also a great way to network. So that's the reason I took that up, actually, is when I started my business, I had lawyers and stuff like, hey, do you golf? And I'm like, no.
Right, exactly.
No. But I heard that question enough from enough people and people of stature that I should be networking with that I'm like, I should probably take up golf.
So let me finish up with this question, because I'm sure those listening and watching are interested in this answer, especially from you as you kind of went through this from 2012 on. If someone's sitting across from you, your son someday, and ask you about advice in getting in business, what would you tell them? What would you say to them?
It's a good question. I think where I would go with it would be, I always like to hedge against the worst case scenario at all times. It's just the way I like to do things. Mostly because of the way I grew up. I didn't grow up with much. So, I've really built something for myself now. Service businesses to me are the easiest ones to start. If you want to get into business, start there. It's low overhead. It really is just your time. And again, you can only fail if you quit. In other businesses, if you want to get into e-commerce and things like that, you have to have cash for ordering inventory and things like that. You can very easily fail without quitting in a situation like that. Now, I don't know much about those businesses, so maybe those people would tell me wrong. But I think that a service-based business that you can actually plug yourself into and then slowly kind of pull yourself away from it is a good approach. And I also would say, if you can start that job while at your current job, like I did, it makes things a little less stressful. Yeah, because you can kind of back out of that as well. Like I mentioned earlier, I didn't start my company until I had built up my income to exactly what my income was with my job that I had. And then
that's smart. Yeah.
Then I was like, all right, I probably don't need this anymore. And then I was able to like double my income pretty fast.
Yeah.
So I would do things that way if possible and not try to it's already a very large percentage of small businesses that fail. Don't set yourself up for that. If you can hedge against some of the things that cause people to fail, do that first.
That's great advice. It really is, especially, having that little bit of safety net too when you're moving over. You mentioned e-commerce. I noticed that you have on your site T-shirts for sale too.
Yeah.
So you do it all, actually.
It's so funny. It's funny. I wish I could say that. I'll tell you our setup though. There's a company in town here, local, Fusion Sports or Fusion, I think now. If anybody's familiar, but they do all of our shirts and stuff like that too. And they built out the website that just plugged into ours, and we have all of our stuff for sale at cost. So I actually don't even make anything on that stuff. Right. I just told him hey, it benefits me if people are walking around with my logo on them. So let's just make them as cheap as possible and get them out to people. So I would love to say that I did e-commerce, and I guess in a technical sense I do, but it's not really part of our business model.
So tell everyone, first of all, thank you for coming on. This has been a fantastic conversation. A lot of people are going to learn from you. I think I wouldn't be surprised they even contacted you to get more information about, what you've gone through, et cetera. But tell everyone how to reach you. If they want to find out about you, about your program, about your app, where do they go?
Yeah. Our website would always be good for just general information. But if you're trying to reach me, I would say LinkedIn is the easy way, just Nithanial Decker.
And what's your website?
OmniActiveFitness.com.
Okay, OmniActiveFitness.com. Okay.
And then you can do LinkedIn for myself personally, or Instagram, or any of those, just at Nithanial Decker. Usually Facebook and Instagram I'm fairly active on. But LinkedIn is really, if it's business related, LinkedIn is where to reach me. So.
Nithanial, thank you, man. You keep doing it. Yeah, you're moving in the right direction, and I can't wait to talk to you in another 3 to 5 years and see where you are there again. All right?
I'd love to come back.
All right,
awesome.
Good. Take care.
Thank you.
Yeah. Hey, if you like this episode, don't forget to comment, like, and share.
This podcast was made possible with the support of our sponsors. Find more ways to grow at CuyEast.org.